Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap the Ultimate Mat Warriors 5, Fight to Win 125 in San Jose, California, the King of Mat 7, presented by Abu Dhabi Jiu-Jitsu World Tour. We're going to briefly recap the 2019 IBJJf No-Gi Pans, and we're going to talk about the Shugyo Invitational Episode 5. Then we're going to preview Fight to Win 126, taking place in, I think it's San Diego, California, and the UWW World Grappling Championships. ADCC is less than 2 weeks away.
Holy shit.
Everything, by the way, I thought this was going to be a short show this week, and I looked at what we were covering, and I was like, it's not going to be a short show.
No.
As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
I'm doing awesome, man. Yeah, there's a ton to cover. A lot of great shit. I'm surprised at the quality of jiu-jitsu that we're seeing leading up to ADCC, and people are still jumping into
Why are
these
you
tournaments.
surprised about the quality? I feel like this would be the highest quality we'd have, like,
I mean, think about it. 10 days out, you have $40,000 on the line. Would you want to take an event? Like, would you want to compete against someone like, a world champion? Like what was happening this weekend in IBJJF Pans? We had former world champions going toe-to-toe with other elite challengers.
It was a good week for grappling.
Yeah, 100%.
Honestly. So let's talk about news first. In the biggest piece of news, the IBJJF has announced drug testing for No-Gi Worlds. And everyone went, oh, no one's going to show up. And I went, they do it for Worlds regularly, and everyone still shows up. Like,
yeah.
It's No-Gi Worlds. Like, guys will just either not take drugs or cycle off or like not do the event. They talk about it. It's an IQ test. Sometimes if you know ahead of time, you can do what you need to do to not pop. It doesn't change anything. I think it's an interesting step forward that, they're going to try to, they're being more active. They're adding more testing events.
Yeah. I'm not sure what their end game is here because, maybe I could see them trying to do some kind of like international recognition, trying to do some kind of...
You think they're going for like Olympic status maybe?
That's the only thing I can think of because I don't think they're going to get any more... They're not going to break into new markets by like suddenly cleaning themselves up. Like
right.
The UFC had to go through that branding because they're trying to make themselves a professional sport,
right.
A household fucking sport. Like jiu-jitsu's not going to become that. We're going to be niche no matter what.
It's a niche sport for the people that practice it and maybe some people that are interested peripherally in grappling, but those people, it doesn't really have the same mainstream appeal, which is totally fine.
Right.
Which is why we cover it and we're one of the,
and it's
people that cover it.
It's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to do it completely and equitably. But when you do this like partial, like, oh, we're going to test some things, whatever, like it definitely feels like, and maybe this is just perception, but it definitely feels like there are preferential treatments that IBJJF gives out to certain athletes.
Allegedly some backroom dealings.
And it's like, yeah, it'd be one thing if it was like, no, we're going to test every single thing, every single competition, every blah, blah, blah.
And here's my argument. You're doing amateur sport. And I think if you're going to implement drug testing and you're going to try to clean up the sport, because every year we catch someone at Worlds. You test one time and you test 20 people. You catch someone, it's like, okay, there's probably a problem here if you're catching 5% of your athletes, if you're the one time you're testing when it's a known test.
Right.
So adding additional testing to it, if that's really what you're trying to do, and you're not trying to spend, $100 million doing it, like you test your major events, you test your big athletes. I think it's at least, if that's where you want to go with it, it's at least a step in the right direction.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
And I agree. It doesn't make sense to me,
because
it's a step in the right direction.
It leaves a room for this preferential treatment, or the perception of preferential treatment, either way you want to call it. It's not a good look. It's like, do it fully or don't do it at all.
The middle ground is a little odd, but look, they're expanding it. It's a thing they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't really have again, I'm super biased because we cover it and we action-packed matches I'm biased towards those, so I don't really have a say in like if I approve it or don't approve it because it's not really my place to say that.
Right.
So in other news, tons of ADCC news.
Yeah.
Luis Panza is out of under 99 kilograms. Tex Johnson has moved down to under 99, and Elliot, the fire marshal, has moved up to over 99. Let's see who else. Kit Dale, I think Kit Dale's out. We talked about that last week.
We did.
Being replaced by Big Monster. And let's see, what other news do we have for ADCC? Oh, yeah. ADCC is basically sold out.
Yeah. If you don't have your tickets, sounds like you're kind of shit out of luck.
You should have bought your tickets 6 months ago.
Yeah.
When I did.
Well, you can listen to our podcast where we will gladly walk you through all of the events. Or obviously you can tune in too. It's going to be well produced, and it's in the U.S. again finally, so it's going to be at a normal time as opposed to when it's
Finland,
wherever the fuck,
China,
exactly,
UK. But it's been strange. I mean,
it's going to be a lot easier to watch.
Yeah.
So don't worry if you can't make it. It's still going to be really fucking good. And we know Seth and Team No Sleep put on great productions, so it's going to be dope.
So other news: Gordon Ryan versus Paul Harris was announced.
Yeah, I know. So initially, I in the group chat, like someone was like, "Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it." But then
that was me. I was like, I'll believe when I see it.
Yeah,
like,
but then I don't know if you saw this. Gary Tonin posted it on his Instagram. So it's like now, okay,
it's like, no, guys can post about it, but it's one of those.
Yeah, but it's different. It's different when like one of your close teammates who has a huge following,
your coach
posts
at one point. Yeah,
at that point, it's like, all right, now it has some more legitimacy. It's not
that's
like
the same card that has Lovato versus Boogie on it as well.
Yeah, that's right.
I looked it up. I haven't actually pulled out any more of the card, but that was announced probably 2 months ago.
Yeah,
maybe even more. That was announced a while ago. So that will be really good.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see that. Actually, that honestly has the potential. Everyone kind of shit on it because all parts of the board matches. Like, don't forget about Polaris versus Gary Tonin.
Yeah,
like he can put on some fun matches, like Alan Belcher versus Husamar. Like, the dude can have really good matches, so don't just because he had one bad match that was weird. Like, remember, he can have really good matches too.
Right.
So that should be a lot of fun. What else we have? Pans happened this weekend.
No-Gi Pans. Yep.
Oh yeah, you were talking about this earlier if we had the discussion that Gordon was coaching Keenan.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. So Keenan took gold in absolute, and initially Maine was like, why do you want to talk about this in the news? But I thought it was really cool because Keenan was posting about this on Instagram, and he was basically like, I had a really shitty performance in division.
I wouldn't really say he had a shitty performance. Like, he lost by, I think, 2 points versus Josh Trainer in the finals.
It's the wrong word, but he was disappointed with his own performance in the division. That's not to say his performance was...
We'll talk about Pans later, but you want to talk about this.
I was talking about how he was disappointed with his performance. And basically, he was like, yeah, Gordon like stepped in and was like, encouraged him to compete in the absolute. He wasn't going to do absolute.
Yeah.
Because of he was just feeling down on his performance. And then Gordon weighed in and was like, yeah, like it was just, I just pointed out for him to fix some shitty mistakes that he made, and he just went out and executed basically. And so it was a really cool dialogue because Gordon wasn't being snarky about what he was saying. He was just saying like, we all make boneheaded mistakes,
right? And
it's great when you have someone who's good to point that out to you and frank enough to call you out on it.
You made some bad mistakes.
You're
how you fix it. This. Go do absolute.
Exactly what he has. Yeah, exactly. That's a cool story. It's amazing to see those two competitors like teaming up. I love these team ups that we're starting to see lately because we've been seeing Keenan in the blue basement a lot, and not only with like Gordon and obviously Danaher coaching everybody, but like he's been posting with like Craig Jones, and like
Craig Jones is there a lot too. Whenever Craig Jones is in the U.S., I think he's primarily based out of that gym.
Yeah, 100%.
He's in the U.S.
Yeah, it seems like it, and like Keenan has been rolling with Craig Jones, and like those. That's just like that's so dope.
How good is ADCC this year going to be?
I know it's just you're seeing all of these like dope cross trainings. In fact, talking about cross trainings, we saw there was a video of Dylan. I think Flow Grappling posted this video of Dylan Dennis and Eddie Cummings training together, which is just like
really?
That's just like that's such a weird, awesome crossover, and stylistically, that's just. That's interesting. That's Dylan is expanding, obviously. Like, whenever you train with Eddie Cummings, I'm sure your leg game is going to get a lot fucking better. So it's cool to see these things leading up to ADCC. We're entering really a time in jiu-jitsu where we're seeing these like cross trainings happen more frequently. It's not like, oh, you gotta train under the same gym for the entire time. So yeah, it's dope to see that.
You had another cross training talking about Nicky Rodriguez and Gordon Ryan.
Yeah. Although I think Nicky Rodriguez is more of a steady Henzo guy, right? Like
I'm saying, you're talking about the size differential.
Oh god,
you didn't realize.
Huge.
So Emil comes into the house today, and we're talking like doing the pre-show stuff we're talking about, and he goes, "Hey, did you see how much bigger Nicky Rodriguez is than Gordon Ryan? Like Emil has just realized this. And I was like, yes, I've stood next to Nick Rodriguez and Gordon Ryan before, and I come up to Nick Rodriguez's like pec muscle.
Well, he's a brick of a human being. It's different when you see them in comparison. I don't recall ever being at an event where Nicky Rodriguez is at. And the last time that I saw Gordon, he was a little teen who like no one knew.
Back when you were in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
This is like, whatever it was, like 4 or 5 years ago. And so, yeah, to see, and then Gordon like got enormous. And now to see him being like dwarfed by Nicky Rodriguez gives me like a total appreciation, particularly for how fast Nicky Rodriguez moves, like of how dangerous he is.
He's that big. That's what I'm saying. Like that's the X factor.
It's the X factor.
I think big and strong, and he moves that quickly.
The best way to put it is X factor. Yeah. Like it's just. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how people deal with him.
It'll be super cool. Mm-hmm. So in other show news, I got all of the ADCC camera equipment in now.
Hell yeah!
I'm happy. I also got this bright ass light.
Get that shit out of my face, man.
Bright.
Oh my god!
That's more bright than it should be ever. So that'll help with the filming. I also got in 2,000 Grappling Rewind podcast stickers.
Sweet.
In hindsight, when I got the box in, I was like, I don't necessarily think I needed 2,000 of these.
Well, I'll be impressed when you get a tattoo. A neck tat.
So I'm gonna start handing these out at ADCC. That should be fun. But yeah, 2,000 stickers. Yeah. In hindsight, that's too many of them.
Well, whatever.
So I think that does it for news. Anything else you want to talk about for news?
I think that's it for news, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the recaps then. So let's move on to our recap of the 2019 King of Mats 7, the middleweights. We had some issues covering this one, but we're going to talk about the finals matches and the semifinals matches for the King of Mats. You were looking it up, and on their website, they had like a link to the mat, but that link is now broken. So there's some other videos on YouTube, and we went off of those in order to cover this. Hopefully they'll get those videos up in the next couple of days, and we'll get the full production of the King of Mats. But there's some really good matches here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes to show you, I mean, like, this is, I think, as I recall, since I've been covering their first event that wasn't on Flow Grappling.
This is the second one that's not on Flow Grappling.
Okay.
But it's the first one that we've had like problems finding stuff for.
Yeah.
Like so the full footage was just not, we couldn't find it this week, and I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. So but we were able to find the semifinals and finals matches on YouTube, as Maine just pointed out. So yeah, we have Isaki Bahens defeating Marcus Tinoco by ad. So it was 4-4 points tied penalties and in one ad for Izake, and this was a good technical match. I mean, it was a sweeps back and forth. I'd say the coolest was Tinoco hitting a lapel omoplata sweep.
That was really slick work.
It was super slick. Like initially I was like, is that a tripod sweep? Because like basically Izake was standing over Marcus, and Marcus had a almost like a worm guard kind of lapel grip, and yeah, basically kind of like just did an inversion into omoplata and got the sweep.
I had to watch this a couple times. My notes, I'm like, this is a cool sweep. I'm like, I don't know what the name for this sweep is.
I couldn't exactly pin it down.
Because the gripping sequence was funny on the lapel there, and I was like, what does he do? Oh, okay. I saw what he did. I just couldn't figure out what the name was before.
But, so the other sweeps were they were much slower. Is like kind of more of the style of like a 50-50 stand-up, like type.
Dude, there was a lot of sweeps back and forth.
Yeah.
Like in my notes, it goes sweep, 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 sweep. I was like actually kind of surprised how quickly and like,
because again they're more of the like, I have a slight leverage on you, and so I'm just gonna stand up, and then the other person being like, I'm gonna sit down because I don't have the leverage to pop over, as opposed to someone like explosively like hitting a scissor sweep or something specific like that. So those sweeps were a little bit less dynamic. One thing that again like I love, we've talked about it a lot, I love UAEJJF's production. And it was cool because even in this match, we saw the penalty clock, and it was
cool. In my notes, I have the same exact thing where you can see
cool.
in the side of the mat, they have like a 10-second countdown for each competitor, by the way, that's like going into the penalties, and you're like, oh, when that hits 0, they're going to penalties unless the ref waves it off for some other reason, and they almost got there. And I just love that additional information for the competitors, that it's like, we're not here is the clock that you have to beat to not get penalized.
Exactly. I think it keeps the action flowing, and it also makes penalties feel less arbitrary, because it's like, okay, there's a clock. We see them start the clock. It's not like someone giving like one of those weird like quick counts or something to try to like penalize somebody. You see the clock. So I really like that. It again,
we love King of Mats.
Yeah, King of Mats is great.
We think it's one of the best events, production wise. I hope it comes out.
It's the best gi tournament format that I can think of that I like from my personal
from a viewing perspective. I just the match time, all of it's good. We talked about it. Listen to our episodes previously. We talked about King of Mats. We really enjoy covering it, which is why we're covering it, even though the footage wasn't easy to find this week,
precisely,
to say the least.
So next semifinals we have Gustavo Batista.
Go back and watch. Go back and watch this match. Like go back and watch all three of these matches. They were really, really interesting, and I had a lot of fun actually taking notes on all of them.
100%. So we have Gustavo Batista submitting Max Lindblad by bow and arrow choke. This was a clinic by Gustavo. So Max tries to invert versus Gustavo in guard, and that's just a terrible idea. Gustavo has some slick guard passing. I mean, this is like almost like breakdance style looking, like shifting the legs around, like basically dancing on top of Max while he's inverted. And Gustavo gets to a leg drag position, and Max turtles, and at that point it's all over. Gustavo follows and rolls, gets a hook in. What were you gonna say?
I was just talking about this thing about the same thing you're talking about. I really had nothing to add.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about. There's a couple matches that ended in bow and arrow this week, and I was trying to think. Wait, am I looking at this match or this match?
This is the one where he basically like Gustavo comes up, and it's one of those like just I know the feeling when like you cannot shake the person off of your back. It's so fucking demoralizing. It's super frustrating. This is basically any time I roll with Ryan Stark. But like,
dude, it was a really quick match.
Yeah.
Too. It was like I think the whole match is like 2 minutes and 15 seconds or something.
Yeah, it's
like the
super
whole
fast.
scene passing around, back, choke. I think this is the match. I want to say it's this match. Might have been a fight to win match where you can see the camera angle and you can see like him working the lapel out and like sliding the hand down on the lapel in order to get a really good grip. So when he transitions, the bow and arrow is right there. So I was trying to remember if it was this match or one of the matches we talked about.
I think it was this one. Gustavo basically takes the back, gets a body lock at one point, and then just annihilates that bow and arrow.
Really good finish. So let's talk about the final. Anything else on that? Let's talk about the finals match: Gustavo Batista versus Zaki Bahens.
Yeah, so Gustavo Batista defeats Zaki Bahens by points 2-0.
I couldn't see the scoreboard at the end, but when I was counting it when watching the match, that's what I had.
Yeah, absolutely. So
there might have been some ads and some penalties there because I couldn't see the ref in some of the footage either. Because we're looking at a mat side footage cam to basically what we're looking at, but I had it 2-0.
Yeah, it's really highly contested. This is a very technical match.
This is that 50-50 knee bar position match, and we saw Bahens sweeps from this position. We've seen him hit the sweep, that 50-50 knee bar sweep. I thought we saw him win King of Mats with this sweep before.
I'm fairly certain we did, yeah.
Recently. I think the last King of Mats
I've been talking about Zaki Bahens a lot in the past year. I really like his style. In this particular match, he was gunning for the toe hold. He was I was surprised at how much it almost looked like a fight to win match in the sense that
there were subs.
There were points where he was just fucking launching into the toe holds, and actually it was on one of those toe hold attempts that he failed, and Gustavo was able to come up and get the sweep on it. So even though it was it should have been counted as a submission attempt, whatever, but Gustavo got the points for that, and then was able to secure it and prevent Zaki from resweeping. But there was a moment at the end of the match that was incredible.
Yeah, this is cool. Watch this last probably last minute. Maybe even 2 minutes of the match, because it is ludicrous. If the whole match was it would be a rerun recommends, but this last 2 minutes, you should go back and watch.
Yeah, so Gustavo basically is standing, and he has Izaki's foot in a weird, almost pro wrestling style, straight ankle lock. Yeah. And Izaki
he had an ankle lock, but he wasn't going for the lock. He was going for the control.
And he was standing. Yeah, he was standing. So, and there was a moment where both competitors were paused to kind of take a breath, and I think it was Bahens' corner goes fucking nuts, and they're shouting what I can only imagine is stand up, stand up, stand up, and Izaki gets up, he tech stands up on one leg, and then rips his leg out and grabs Gustavo by the hips. And Gustavo is actually, what's interesting is Gustavo was desperately trying to get out of bounds.
Oh yeah, you saw him trying to do
he was crawling out of bounds. And it would be interesting, the metagame here is it almost would have been interesting to see Izaki attempt a shitty takedown while he was trying to crawl out of bounds, because then he would have gotten the gamesmanship would have been like.
What are the rules for King of Mats?
I'm fairly certain
a takedown out of bounds. Is it an ad or is it points?
I'm pretty sure it's points
if
and
the
a
guy's
penalty.
Escaping.
And a penalty. They are aggressive.
They are
with this.
aggressive with the penalties.
They're. I'm pretty sure it's 2 points and a penalty for the other person who's attempting to crawl out of bounds during a takedown.
I think Bahens thought he was going to lift him up and take him
I
down.
remember this because I'm trying to remember. I think it was Doderlin. It was Doderlin versus Meow. I think in one of these got like a fucky call.
Yeah, and Doderlin kind of went out of the mats, and they were like, "He's fleeing." And we were kind of like, "Was he fleeing though, for real?"
Yeah, and I remember the points tied it up, and the penalty sided
Gave
it for the other
Meow.
person.
Yep, I remember that now.
So anyway, Bahens like has his hips, and you can hear his. I'm pretty sure in Portuguese they say like pull him back in, and he just fucking yanks Gustavo back into the middle of the mat, and I was like, he had such a good grip on the hips. I was like, are we gonna see a suplex right now?
I thought he might.
I was like, this.
Because he kind of he was like doing that weight thing where he like you're waiting to load to like get ready to lift, and like he just never quite got there.
And then instead what he elects for, which is a smart move from a jiu-jitsu sport gamesmanship standpoint, is Isaki decides to go for back. Because like if you can get the 4 points, then you automatically win.
You're down 2.
Right.
So it's like you got to go either you're going to have a hard time passing the guard there and getting the points for the guard pass, and then if you can get the back points, it fixes the problem. You have 4 points, you're up 2 points, you win.
Over.
The match is concluding right there, and he just isn't able to get there. But dude, it was funny. I was thinking about this as I was taking notes for it. Had this been a fight to win match, Bahens would have taken it.
Oh yeah.
But because we're playing for the points, he doesn't take it.
Right.
It was an amazing match, but I think like something about this rule set and the money and everything like produces the finals match for King of Mats is usually a lot of fun. You see some really, really good
the semifinals, like, and the whole lead up is usually really good. So Izaki's not able to secure both hooks to get the points for the back, and time expires, and Gustavo wins on points. So, great.
Really good match. Go back and watch all 3 of those matches. They were a ton of fun. Anything that's to add on King of Mats, I'm hoping that the videos come up so that I can watch some of the preliminary stuff, because somebody put up highlight.
Yeah.
And it's like it had like. There's a bunch of Tanoko matches. Like Tanoko looks like he finishes like a couple, like a steam of locks and other stuff. Like I want to see the group stage for this because it looked like there was some really, really fun matches, but I just haven't got a chance to see them yet.
100%. No, I got nothing else. I love UAEJJF. I love particularly the King of Mats format.
Yeah.
I really hope that they, showcase their great product forefront with a very easy to find streaming link.
Yeah.
In the future. So.
All right, that does it for King of Mats. So under a recap of Fight to Win 125, this event paid out a total of $26,396 in Sovereign's commissions, and it was headlined by black belt Hudson Mateus, defeating Gutenberg Pereira via armbar, and that was submission of the night for the black belt.
I want to just immediately start talking about this match because holy shit, you need to go back and watch this. This match is
up on right now on Flow. They've as of what's today? Sunday? As of Sunday recording, they have parted out that one match, and so it's up there. It is, spoiler, like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
the entire
super fucking fast. I texted Maine, I was like, I don't know if you'd seen it when I texted you, but I was like, just go and watch this match. It's very quick, and it's its own video, and it was fucking great. It started off like really intense. Basically, Gutenberg pulls guard, and he starts like just going completely fucking ham and gets a sweep and puts Hudson on his fucking ass. And Hudson, they ended up in 50-50. Which and I'm gonna before I tell you what happens, I'm gonna give you a little hint. And I Google. Oh, let me tell you what happens because then it'll explain why I Googled this. But basically, Hudson Mateus grabs fucking Gutenberg's arm and rips like one of the most fucking violent 50-50 arm bars I've seen. It was awesome. Like it was the kind where Gutenberg was just like flailing
after the mat on the mat after he's like head
face down,
like face down, like kind of going, ow.
It's like,
that sucked.
Are you all right, dude? Kind of like
where it's like where the black belts, sometimes black belts lose and they're kind of upset, and sometimes black belts lose and they're upset and they stay down for a minute, and you're like, ooh, that kind of sucked. Probably that arm is not doing great. And the angle on it, you see the arm out and like back, and I was
twisted fucking back.
Oh Jesus!
God damn! So it was a fucking lightning fast 50-50 armbar, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've seen Hudson Mateus. Like I don't have the memory that Maine and Josh have. Like you guys have excellent memories. Josh has a fucking nearly photographic memory. But I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen Hudson Mateus finish a really nasty 50-50 armbar before. And so I Googled it. And one of the first things that comes up...
I just love, because I know where this is going.
Yeah.
I saw the same thing. I was like, I think he's done this before on King of Mats. And then I was thinking about all the times I've seen him and covered on the show that he's done this. And then Emil Googles it, like, Emil does not recall. Google.
Yeah. And... it's funny because it didn't come up with a specific event that we covered, but it did come up with like a Flow Grappling tweet that was like, don't get into 50-50 with Hudson Mateus. And then it has this video of him just like ripping someone's arm out with a 50-50 armbar. And then on top of that, like the next highest video was like, Hudson Mateus showing his signature 50-50 armbar. So it's like, if you're in 50-50 with Hudson Mateus, A, that's not a great idea, but B, do not let him get your fucking near side sleeve grip, because he's going to rip your arm.
The way he does this, he is, I want to say, I would declare he's probably the best guy in the world at the 50-50 armbar. I've been trying to hit this now in the gym more on like students and stuff and people I roll with, because I've seen him do it on the show so many times. So like I get in 50-50 and everyone kind of sits there and doesn't know what to do. I'm like, I bet I can armbar the guy. I've been trying to work it.
Yeah.
And so it's funny to see like something that I'm working specifically in the gym, and then again have another highlight come out of it where it's like, oh god, that's the thing I'm working. That's what he does.
I remember the first time I saw 50-50 armbar. This is pretty recently, so this goes to show you like the gaps
how much
in my knowledge
you were watching before.
Well, yeah, watching before, and also just like the gaps in my knowledge. I'm a fucking purple belt, and so to see, this is like a couple years ago or whatever, and to see it in action, I was like, man, that's surprising how well that works. And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, if the person gives you their near side arm,
or you can take it,
yeah. Like. Yeah, the mechanics work beautifully. Mm-hmm. Like, it's effortless to see people rotate to a perpendicular kind of position and then just sink the fucking arm.
Yeah, because the leg doesn't really get in the way there. You'd think the leg would get in the way,
but it doesn't prevent you from rotating.
No, but it really doesn't. It's kind of it's a really cool sub, and I think in the last 2 years we've seen more and more of it. Probably thanks to Hudson Mateus being so successful with it. So that was it. I think that he is now probably front runner in line for the title at this weight class, because I think Spriggs had the title, then Gutenberg took it off him, and then I thought, did Yuri take it off Lovato?
I don't know. This is what I'm talking about, man. Your recollection for who is a title holder in all of these promotions is remarkable. I have no fucking idea.
I believe that Hudson, I think this might have been his fight to win debut, but it doesn't seem right either.
I'm lucky if I remember who won IBJJF World's Gi like the past fucking year.
Yeah, Wikipedia does that for me. Wikipedia's got my back on that one, but for everything else, when there's not a giant database, it's on me. Yeah. So I think he's probably the front runner for the title at this weight class, especially with this performance over the former champion and defending champion until recently at the weight class. So super exciting. Definitely submission tonight for the black belts.
Yeah, not even
hands
close.
down.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. Worth your time.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next match. Osvaldo
Carcinho Moitinho defeats Richard Nogueira by omoplata. This was fucking dope.
I had to watch this a bunch of times because I was looking at against white on white gis, white for some white on white and black on black gis. Like blue on blue can do it. I can do it for those two colors. From trying to see lapel stuff.
White on white crime. Yeah,
dude,
I understand.
Just can't.
White on white violence.
Oh my god,
hurts
it's so
Maine.
hard, man. I can't see. So I had to watch this transition for the omoplata like 6 different times. Like, what is he doing with the arm? And he's like, and really what it is Emil was like, it's just a very good omoplata from the from the open guard with the lapel.
High guard
with the lapel.
Yeah. So it's exactly that. Basically, we have Richard Nogueira standing over Osvaldo, and so there's a lot of space, and Osvaldo has like a very tight grip, and he gets a quick high guard, and then just has tons of space to rotate out for the omoplata. But what's amazing about this is Osvaldo breaks down Richard's posture very quickly, and but then he holds the omoplata for a fucking long time.
Not that long.
It was pretty long. Like he's like, yeah, I mean that's.
Well,
but
then at one point,
it's a lot of rolling around, and
yeah, and they go off the mat and they pull him back onto the mat at one point. Yeah, you're right. It was a while.
Yeah. And then
he goes full Clark Gracie at one point where Nogueira lifts him up and he gives. Everyone's seen the meme?
Yeah.
Of the Clark Gracie like paint me like one of your French girls where he's on the omoplata and the guy's lifting up and Clark is just fucking chilling.
Yeah.
That exact same pose. And even the commentary goes, look, pulling the Clark Gracie out there.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a beautiful omoplata, like really good control there, and the gi does all the right stuff. Like really, there's kind of a technical battle that happens there where Richard's trying to basically block the foot and get around and get underneath, and Kushino just patient, holds it, makes the angle, eventually he goes running man twice with the legs and can't quite get it, and then eventually makes the angle and gets the omoplata.
Boom.
I was really surprised at the amount of control he had for the entirety of the time. It was cool. I'm not a big omoplata guy because I'm kind of more focused personally in no-gi, so it's really cool to see the guys in the gi have that level of control and able to keep it and finish it.
I would say, yeah, I agree with you. I'm also more of a no-gi guy, and I don't hit omoplatas frequently. I will say, I'm trying to, like, they're such an iconic submission.
Yeah.
Like, they just look so fucking cool.
I think it's one of the things, like, there's very few other, like, it's a jiu-jitsu thing.
Yeah,
you don't see that particular move done, like, almost in any other sport or thing like that. It's just, like, it's just a super weird shoulder lock. And so it's uniquely, like, a jiu-jitsu position.
Yeah, it's very iconic.
Really cool match. Let's move on to the next match.
Yeah, so we have Thiago Gaia defeating Jeremiah Lapiano.
Confident with the name there. I mean, it was fight of the night for the black belts.
Yeah.
This was deservedly fight of the night.
It was a super fun match. I would say it's definitely a dominant match by Thiago, but there was a lot of good back and forth.
Dude, a ton of back and forth. Like there's sub attempts on both sides. There's a lot of foot locks. There's like... It was a really, really good match. There's an armbar. There's 2 armbar slams. In my notes, it goes, Jeremiah sits back for a heel hook as time runs out. This is a good goddamn match.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. There was basically an extended period of time where Thiago gets the back, and
I think that moment, because like they're pretty back and forth, but Guy is doing really well, and then he gets the back with the last probably 2 minutes left, and he holds it, and he's over the face, he's under the neck, and Jeremiah does a really good job defending, getting out.
But in the fight to win rule set, it's an interesting thing to think about, because if you're on someone's back, like we very rarely get the rear naked choke on the first attempt, right? We're usually kind of like swimming. There's a lot of hand battling. So actually, now that I think about it, like as a ref, how do you count that, right? Because like
here's how I count it.
Yeah.
I'd count it as like a legitimate good attempt because the guy is having to defend it the entire time. So it's like if you don't defend it,
but do you only count it as one? Right? Like, do you count it as multiple? Like,
that's a good point. Like, let's say I have 4 rear naked chokes on the guy.
Yeah, if you're like, constantly swimming your arms back and forth.
How many count for sub attempts?
Exactly, right? And so how do you count that versus like a really shitty leg lock? Yeah, I only thought about it just now.
Because I count them like okay, I'm gonna say how I count it, and you say how you count it. So like the thing about a knee bar, like every time the guy pulls for the knee bar, I count that as like a sub attempt, and then the guy defends it and he's out. And like every legit one, I think, he had like 2 good straight ankle attempts, 2 good knee bar attempts, even though they're the same position. He bellies out on the ankle lock twice.
Right.
For a rear naked choke, like I think of them as like he'll have 1 good squeeze and then it'll kind of be over the face and he'll squeeze a little bit. I don't really think of those as like in the same vein as like an armbar attempt. Right. It's like an armbar attempt. Even if it's a shitty armbar attempt, I count as an armbar attempt. A rear naked choke, it's kind of the same way where it's like I'll count like a good rear naked choke as a sub attempt, but every like lesser one when you're over, I'll count it as like a positional sub attempt kind of, but I don't look at it as a sub attempt even if the guy's defending the arm over unless it's under the neck or unless he's gable gripped over and I think he's trying to submit the guy.
Yeah. I guess like a clearer kind of like delineation would be like, if the arm switches, right? Like if the arm switches, that could be a different attempt or whatever. But, I'll say...
I think each attempt is if the guy squeezes. If the guy squeezes...
If a guy's on your back for 2 fucking minutes or whatever, I don't know if it was that long for this particular match.
He's about 1:30, I think.
Yeah, like, that's a long-ass time, and that has to count for several submission attempts. Like, if someone's on your back, attempting to rear naked choke you for 90 seconds versus what's that worth? Like 2 or 3 shitty like straight ankle locks, like attempts.
I would say more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But we're in super gray areas now where it's interesting. I never really thought about the question like that.
Yeah.
But I think about it when I'm seeing them. It's one of those when you see it in a match, but if you're going to quantify it, that becomes
it's much harder.
It's interesting.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's very interesting.
Great match, deservedly fight of the night.
Yep.
Go and watch it. It's a lot of fun. Let's move on to the rest of them. You want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it. So we have David Stegman defeating Alan Marcus by decision.
It's Gumby. He was on commentary. He left commentary to go do his match and then came back.
Hell yeah. Benji Silva defeats Dom Hoskins by split decisions. Dom on yet another card.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Green, also on yet another card, defeats Kevin Kopecki by split decision. We have Shane Torres defeating Nick Bourbon by decision. We have Mickey Rolls defeating Victor Oliveira by decision. We have Kaniela Kahanui defeating Jason Butcher by choke.
I was really hoping that you would butcher that name because I knew how to say it, and I was like, I can come in and save the day. This is a fun match. Really good daily Hiva work. It was really cool. I think this might have been the match where I saw the bow and arrow shift. This might have been the match.
Okay.
Might have been King of the match. I knew it was one of the 2 matches.
Right.
I think this was one. This is also a really fun match. You should go back and watch. In the main video, it's at 5 hours and 25 minutes approximately in.
Awesome. So,
on to the judo results.
there we go. Hysun Lee defeats April Fair by 1 ippon to 0. And one thing that I was talking about this, like, I incorrectly said, I think this is the first time we've seen a 1 ippon to 0 like time running out for judo, and Maine was like, no, we've seen it before, but like you might have been out for that week, but that's still pretty amazing.
It's not common. I think much more we either go to decision, but a lot of the matches we have like 2 ippon finishes or like 2 ippons to 1 or like it's usually rare to see 1 ippon in a fight to win judo match.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Again, good matches. So, on to the brown belt results.
Mo Black defeats Tracy Pham by decision.
And she becomes the fight to win brown belt bantamweight gi champion.
Alan Sanchez defeats Sean Weisenberg by decision.
And he retains the welterweight no-gi title.
And
Same Sean Weisenberg.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we are going to cover him in Shugyo.
Mm-hmm.
That happened a little while ago because Shugyo...
I don't know how long ago it happened, actually. Actually, I'll talk to Phil Schwartz, the promoter for that event, and
I think it was at least a month, right?
More than that.
Yeah,
because I think we've had a week per episode. And
we're already at week 5.
We talked to Phil
probably
2
like
weeks
2
before,
months. Yeah.
2, maybe even 2.5 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So
Sean, honestly, we have no idea. So it could be like 6 months ago. But but anyway, Sean Weisenberg. We have Alex Barcelona defeating Raquel Torres by split decision.
And she becomes the fight to win Masters brown belt bantamweight champion. I love how, by the way, on the live event, they ran like all the brown belts and then they ran champion into the black belts. It was a really cool way to do it.
David Mitchell defeats Nate Moore by footlock.
And that was submission of the night for the brown belts.
Yepi Tomazian defeats Troy Everett by armbar. Troy on yet another card. I love that we have these staples.
Troy and Dom are like, dude, I gotta talk to Troy
and
again
Nick Green too,
and figure out. I gotta figure out who actually has the most. I want to get like a top 10 list of like.
It's close.
It's Troy and Dom.
They're
always fighting. I think they're at least at 22 apiece. If not more.
I think they're within. They're probably within a match or 2 of each other.
Yeah, Nick Green, I want to say is probably at least at 15.
Yeah, he's
a ref constantly. Any of the Cali events in the San Francisco area. I mean, they'll even move him around. He flies to other places. So I wonder who has like the top 10 appearances for fight to win.
Yeah, we have Derek Van Ness defeating Jamie Abadam by decision. We have Chelsea Garcia Aguayo defeating Brian Van Buren by decision. Antonio Velasquez defeating Zach Sitt by split decision.
On to the purple belt results.
Tyler Brandon Shu defeats Mike Paris by choke.
And that was submission of the night for the purple belts.
Anthony Arnold defeats Michael Howard by decision.
And that was Friday night for the purple belts.
Chris Vickers defeats Pablo Sanchez by toe hold. Michael Maynard defeats Andy Lagunas by decision. Brooke Mayo defeats Lauren Sachs by decision. Pablo Casimiro defeats Spencer Smith by split decision. Troy Ibanez defeats Bobby No by decision. We have Brian Shinsky defeating Mike Cordes by decision. Corbin Billen defeats Salvador Ramos by decision. Courtney Dubois defeats V. Garcia by decision. Vasily Shust defeats Danny Castro by decision.
On to the blue belt results.
Santiago Orozco defeats Timothy by Americano.
That was submission of the night for the blue belts.
Leonardo Silva defeats Joseph Figueroa by decision.
That was fight of the night for the blue belts.
Tyler Inoue defeats Colton Smith by choke. Matt Acevedo defeats Cesar Santos by armbar. Justin Turner defeats Francisco Barajas by decision. McKenna Mitchell defeats Rachel Sedilis by decision.
On to the kids and teens results.
Legend Kuti defeats Tyler Cisneros by reverse triangle.
And that was submission of the night for the kids and teens.
Giovanni Duran defeats Tristan Ho by decision.
Fight of the night for the kids and teens.
Gabriel Ho defeats Madison Van Dyke by triangle. Jezebel Vega defeats Alexandra McCartney by armbar. Aiden Riley Villanueva defeats Ryan So by triangle. And Josiah Tubby defeats Richard Vega by armbar.
So that does it for Fight to Win 125. On to the next one. So I want to recap of Shugyo Episode 5. In this episode, we saw Shine Weisenberg versus Rafael Domingos and Nathan Orchard versus Jordan Holy. Which one do you want to start with?
I just want to start off by just letting the listeners know again, Shugyo is a unique event in that it was shot like a couple months ago, and they kept all of the results hush-hush. They've taken on the footage, condensed it down, did a really amazing production where they condensed the submission-only, no time limit matches down to all of the action. So it's very entertaining to watch, and then they couple that with really great interviews of the competitors. So to get into it, let's start off with Sean Weisenberg and Rafael Domingos. Like, Sean Weisenberg wins by rear naked choke. This was fucking amazing. Both of these matches, really all of the matches I've seen
all the matches
have been amazing.
Have been great so far.
And in this particular one, Rafael comes in super fast. I mean, super hard.
Guns
He's doing
blazing.
like flying triangles, like just absolutely going nuts. And towards the end of the match, what ends up happening is they're in a scramble, and Rafael goes for a front headlock, and Sean just capitalizes. He grabs the leg up for a single, and then completes kind of like what looks like a old school sweep.
Yep, pretty much.
And gets on top.
Like a roll through almost.
And yeah, Rafael turtles, and by that point, that's all she wrote. Sean takes the back, gets the rear naked choke.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome. It's a really dynamic match. All of the matches have been dynamic, and part of that is also the presentation where they're
they cut down. You're not watching an 8-minute match or a 10-minute match or a 2-minute match. You're watching a highlight of that entire match. We saw a match last week with Korean go 71 minutes, and they cut it down to probably 4-ish.
Yeah.
And then they put the full matches up, I think, a couple days later on YouTube, so you can watch them if you want to watch the full matches. They're there, but the episode matches have been just amazing, and this is no different.
Yeah, 100%. Really entertaining to watch, really technical, really dynamic. Go back and watch this. Then we have Nathan Orchard defeating Jordan Holy by heel hook.
And somebody said, I think one of the guys said it, leg locking the leg locker.
Yeah, I mean, actually, even Nathan said that. He was like, I'm surprised I leg locked the leg locker.
Yeah, that's what it was.
In the post-fight interview. And it was just, this is another incredible match. Both of these guys were taking it to each other. Each one of them in extremely dominant positions. I recall from having watched Nathan Orchard, he's a very patient grappler. Like, you can put Nathan Orchard into terrible positions, and he doesn't really seem, it doesn't seem to phase him.
No, he doesn't even seem to like be super aggressive to like escape. He's like actively working to escape, but he's not like just using all his energy, especially in this format.
Yeah.
You've seen that kind of calm presence he has like really show through, and this match was no different in that respect. At one point they kind of scramble, and Orchard sits back on a heel hook and lifts and is able to get the tap. And Holy, in the post-fight interview, talks about, he goes, it was out, man. Like, I tapped before I thought he had it.
Yeah.
And then we were sweaty and slippery, and the heel popped out, but I'd already tapped. And so Holy was super upset that he basically ended up tapping to a submission that he didn't think is in, or we didn't think was in at the time.
Yeah, well, it's more like, I think after the fact he realized, and in the moment, it definitely looked like the positioning was such that could have been a leg blown out finish. Yeah. Like in terms of the angles of the hips. You may have gotten lucky with the foot popping out like it did, or if you don't tap, you may have gotten unlucky and just got your leg right. I think honestly, I think it was a really good tap. I understand definitely
Holy's a dope competitor, and upset he had to tap to
Right.
it, or upset he did tap to it in that position, given the other factors like the foot slipping out. But it was like, from looking at it, I was like, man, I'm not like that upset at you tapping to that heel hook. Like
Yeah.
it looks like he Orchard is just ripping on it, and it's like it's in, man.
Yeah, their hips are almost facing in completely different directions with basically Jordan having rolled out in the wrong direction. So I think one of the I'm just speculating here, but one of the reasons why the foot popped out so much was because there was so much torque on it, and it just basically
And they were also really sweaty.
Right, they're sweaty.
They're sweaty, so it's like there's not a good leverage. It's not good leverage on the
that
heel.
torque goes right into your knee joint if your heel didn't happen to pop out there. So I think it's totally fine. I think it was a great submission. Is opportunistic on.
We're getting
Nathan's.
close, man. We're finishing the brackets up.
100%. Yeah. So we're starting to see kind of how things flesh out here. It's been super entertaining. Definitely, absolutely go back and watch.
I think this is week 5, so we've seen 10 matches. There's only 3 matches left. We got the semifinals, and then we got the finals.
Yeah.
That's it. Next week is the semifinals.
Yeah.
Super excited for it, dude. It's gonna be awesome. If you're not watching Shugyo, go watch it. Each episode is like usually about 22-ish, like a TV episode, but there's no commercials. It's awesome. Go back and watch it. I can't say enough good things about it. Super looking forward to talking to Phil at the end of this whole thing with, when the final episode drops, and like asking him all the behind the scenes questions that I want to ask him about. So look forward for that interview, and definitely be watching Shugyo.
Yeah.
So on to our recap of the Ultimate Mat Warriors 5. This event took place in San Diego. I think it's San Diego. This is Boogie Martinez's promotion. The winner of this gets a bid to the Finishers 10 or 11. I think it's Finishers 10. Their 185-pound tournament. Previously, the Finishers champion had got a bid to the Ultimate Mat Warriors 4, the 125-pound champion. So I love that there's more promotions and more crossover between the two promotions. It's great to see that. So the first match, I don't have notes that. I don't have event results that I pulled up, so these are all my event results. So if there's issues here and there, you can totally blame me for it. First match, Ryan Quinn face cranked in the opening round. Kyle Chambers versus Tom Boudreau. Chambers goes for a go-go plata and gets a heel hook in 2 minutes. Really cool to see a guy go from basically a go-go plata and then lean down to a heel hook. Sloan versus Dan Martinez. Dan Martinez gets shoots a flying triangle and gets a tap in like 45 seconds. Super quick match. We had Micah Preckfield versus Kevin Crane. This is a really cool match because Kevin was able to get a really interesting toe hold from like the reverse inverted mount. When someone's sitting on your chest, basically, and then they have their legs like triangled behind you and you're like looking.
Right.
He reaches up and he's like shooting there, and he grabs it. And he grabs a toe hold from that position, and it's a really interesting toe. You don't see that toe hold hitting a lot, but he's able to get it done. We had Ryan Quinn versus Josh Squire. A lot of passing from Quinn. Quinn eventually gets to the back, gets a rear naked choke at about 4 hours and 21 minutes in to the entire event footage. If you're looking to go back and just kind of look at what we were covering here, that's about where it is. Next match, we had Marvin Castell versus Jeff. This is a very heel hooky back and forth match.
Yeah, and this particular match, I mean, like Marvin was basically dictating the pace and the positions a lot, and it's more of Jeff like reacting to that, trying to defend. But in a situation where you are more or less 100% on defense, it almost
Jeff threw some stuff here and there for the event, but really there was a big stretches of the match where Castile on offense.
And where Castile was rolling through on 50-50 on leg entanglements, and it almost becomes like just a game of probability, right? Like, if you have an extended period of time with someone attacking you, it's just a matter of time until you make a.
Gordon Ryan talked about this versus the No Time Limit Keenan match he had years ago.
Also in Shugyo came up. It was the wrestler
Max Rockshop.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was talking about his match with Keith Kokorian. Same thing. It's like he's like, I have a higher rate of submission attempts on offense. My offense is better. It's just a matter of time before one of those gets through, and I totally agree with that. It's if you're on defense, at best you're not getting submitted, as opposed to submitting or.
Yeah, we've seen it kind of time and time again. I think the Gordon Ryan versus Keenan match was. Yeah. Gordon said that specifically. He's like, "Look, I'm just throwing up more stuff, and eventually, I'm able to get it done."
Right.
So that was an interesting match. Castell actually gets the heel hook towards the end of the match, with a little over 3 minutes left. So about 7 minutes into the match, he's able to get a heel hook, like a nice rolling heel hook. We have Kyle Chambers versus Dan Martinez. I think Dan wins via fastest escape in overtime. Ryan Quinn versus Kevin Chase. Kevin sits back at one point in this match and hits like a brutal heel hook. And it looks like Quinn's foot popped, and then he stands up and he looks like he's fine. There was some booing from Kevin because it looked like Kevin wasn't very, what's the right word? Compassionate after it, and he got a little booed for that, but whatever. We have a super fight between Kevin Gallagher and Hector Carriel, and Gallagher's able to get a really cool armbar in transition here off of like a scramble, and it was super nifty. We've seen Gallagher hit cool stuff in scrambles before, and this one's no different. And then we had the finals match. We had Kevin Crane versus Dan Martinez.
Yeah, I think this match we saw Kevin really dictate like where that match was going. Basically.
The entirety of it. Like he played guard, and he was able to sweep, and he passed repeatedly.
Getting into dominant positions at one point, getting mount, and like just doing the like day one, crab walking your hand up to get like a better position on the arm for an attack. Just like clearly dominant.
I was really impressed with Kevin here. Like the way like Dan, we saw Dan look really good in this tournament up to this point, and then to see Kevin come in and like repeatedly pass the guard, like over and over in different ways, get to mount repeatedly, go to knee on belly repeatedly, but he's unable to get it done in the regulation.
And we are not talking about points or even submission attempts in this rules format in EBI. You need to get the submission, and so it goes to overtime.
Yep. And he's not unable to get it done in overtime.
Yeah.
And so Dan Martinez takes the victory in overtime. I think it was
fastest escape.
I think it was fastest escape. I actually just forget, it's not in my notes. But gets it done. Dan Martinez is now your champion. We should be seeing him in finishers at finishers. I think it's going to be finishers 10. It might be finishers 11, but I will clarify that and hopefully talk about it next week on the show. So this whole event is up for free on YouTube. You should watch it. Commentary was a lot of fun to listen to. They had a nice timer up in the top. Didn't have the competitors' names, which is why if you've heard me read through my notes here, there's some names I don't have last names for. Go watch it. It was a fun event.
Hell yeah.
So I want to recap the 2019 IBJJf No-Gi Pans. We're just going to go through the... We're just going to go through the black belt results for the men and for the women, because anything other than that would just be huge. All the videos are up on Flow Grappling. Flow Grappling actually did a really cool... article on everyone who's going to be in ADCC that was also in this event, and basically how they placed and how they did. It's actually a really cool read through. It's basically a play-by-play of like all the movers and shakers in ADCC and what they looked like. So on the adult male black belt rooster weight,
we have Marcelo Cohen taking first.
On the light featherweight,
we have Lucas dos Santos Pinheiro taking first.
Featherweight,
Paulo Miao taking gold,
and actually Grippo taking third here.
As
well. On the lightweight,
we have Atos Ribeiro de Miranda.
On the middleweight division,
we have Jefferson Guerresi taking gold.
Medium heavyweight division,
Jonatas Gracie taking gold. This is great to see his name popping up. It was really exciting to see him compete. Was it Spider? I'm trying to remember, or was it I think it was Quintet or something. I feel like
so you're putting me on the spot now. I think it was Spider.
Yeah,
but
there
now
was
I'm
one
like
where he just
myself.
went on a fucking tear.
Heavyweight,
we have Murilo Santana taking gold.
Black belt super heavyweight.
Vinicius Gazola,
black belt ultra heavyweight.
Max dos Santos Jimenez,
Max Jimenez, black belt open class.
Keenan Cornelius takes gold, and we talked about that a lot in the
news section earlier. Felipe Silva takes second, Tex Johnson takes third, and Devontae takes third. It's really funny that Aaron and Devontae used to be both Unity, and now Tex Johnson is representing Ribeiro. So moving on to the light featherweight for the ladies.
Sophia Amarante.
We have lightweight for the ladies.
Amanda Alequin.
Tubby Alequin. She's on Fight to Win this week, actually, coming up, which would be cool to see. Middleweight for the ladies.
We have Jackie Amarim.
On to medium heavyweight.
Veda Toscano.
On to the black belt heavyweights. Maria Migalasic is the only one from Amar Barbosa. And the open class.
Laura Halleck.
We have second place, we have Amanda Alequin, Tubby Alequin. Third place, we have Talita Alencar, which is really cool to see Alencar in the open class because she is small. And then third place, we have Maria Migalasic. So that does it. Anything else on IBJJF Pans? Again, it's a huge, giant event. We use an entire show to cover it, but yeah, we just don't have the time. So all the matches are up. Go back and watch them if you want to.
Yep.
So moving on to the preview section, we're going to talk about Fight to Win first, talk about UWW first.
Fight to Win.
All right, let's talk about Fight to Win. So happening on September 20th, Fight to Win 126 happens in San Diego, California, and is headlined by a 170-pound black belt gi match, Marcelo Andre versus, give me that name.
Guthrie Barbosa.
Thank you. I can never, every time I read his name, I look at him like, I always want to butcher it. 215-pound black belt gi match.
Gustavo Batista versus Felipe Becerra.
155-pound black belt no-gi bout.
Tamara Ferreira versus Luana Alzugir.
145-pound black belt gi match.
Barrett Yoshida versus Antonio Lopez.
That's heavy for Barrett. I don't think he's usually 40. I think he's usually 35.
Oh, we've seen him compete at 145.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
140-pound black belt gi match.
Tubby Aliquin versus Gabrielle McComb.
140-pound black belt gi match.
Luisa Monteiro versus Janiana Maya.
Yo, those are actually both really, really fun matchups. I think wouldn't surprise me if one of those wasn't for the title or for like a number one spot for the title. I think Luisa had the title at one point, if not still has the title. 175-pound black belt gi bout.
Matthew Palupelli versus Wandel da Silva Santos.
220-pound black belt gi match.
Bruno Mundakura versus Dustin Peak.
215-pound black belt gi match.
This is Tyrone Gonsalves versus Rafael Vasconcelos.
We have a 200-pound black belt no-gi bout.
Andy Burke versus Stefan Martinez.
I always can never forget if it's Steven or Stefan Martinez.
Yeah, that's true.
195-pound black belt gi match.
Nisar Loya versus Nicholas Green.
190-pound black belt gi match.
Johnny Souza versus Chris Nebar.
185-pound black belt gi match.
Rafael Dalina versus Vincent Colcol.
185-pound black belt gi match.
Ronaldo Jr. versus Mateus Luna.
Ooh, that'd be fun. 185-pound black belt gi match.
Vinicius Lino versus Philip Fitzpatrick.
135-pound black belt gi match.
Jose Alencar versus Ricky Nunez.
175-pound black belt no-gi bout.
PJ Bart versus Sergio Realize. This is awesome. I think this is the first time we've seen PJ compete since he sustained an injury, didn't he? For trials. At trials.
Oh, no. I swear to God, there was something else he was on. It was West Coast Trials, wasn't it?
It was West Coast Trials. He sustained an injury and
he had to pull out.
He had to pull out. They gave it to someone else.
Semifinals or the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
or something
somewhere
like that.
deep, and then he had to pull out of an event. Like a week or
Quintet,
two after that,
maybe.
I want to say it was a quintet
or Subversive.
Yeah, it was a big thing that he pulled out of, and I can't remember having seen him since then. So,
look, cool, he's back. I'm glad he's
fucking
training.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Welcome back, PJ. That's
watch him have
great.
competed like twice, and we have just missed.
Yeah, maybe. I might. I'm definitely speaking off the cuff and maybe prematurely, but I can't think of
that. Seems correct to me.
I can't think of another time because we both love PJ Barch. It's very exciting to watch.
Yep. 165-pound black belt no-gi bout.
Johnny Tama versus Kevin Burbich.
We have a 165-pound black belt gi match. We're still in the black belts.
Rhino Perallo versus Alfredo Barham.
155-pound black belt gi match.
Joao Mendez versus Edward King.
155-pound black belt gi match.
Nina Mora versus Sofia Nordena.
155.
Do you think there may be some good gyms in San Diego?
No, Emil.
No,
I wonder. It's like not necessarily. It's like right next to where ADCC is this year, and might not be the hub of jiu-jitsu for the world. It's not like It's not like 5 of the top affiliations in the world are headquartered right there. Like not like you don't have your selection of first generation, second generation top black belts in the world.
Yeah,
dude, San Diego. I always forget every time we do the San Diego week. This is kind of the hurt curtain. We always because usually this section of the show is like less interesting to listen to, but it's really for us to okay, who am I looking through next week? And who should you care about next week?
Right. Who do we got to keep an eye out for?
Right.
Yeah.
And then every time we do San Diego, or usually like San Diego and Sacramento.
Yeah.
Like every time we do those two, I'm always like, yo, we're still in the black belts.
Yeah.
And it's always like I'm looking next week like it's gonna be a nightmare to cover. Not a nightmare. It's awesome to cover.
Yeah,
but it's like we're gonna have to pick and choose like what good matches we have to cover next week because there's so many good matches.
We ain't done yet.
Yeah, I know. 150-pound black belt gi match.
Sergio Hernandez versus Marcus Norat.
140-pound black belt gi match.
Tim Mendoza versus Andre Pontes.
135-pound black belt gi match. No-gi match.
Ron Henderson versus Jeff Real.
So we move on to the brown belt matches, and there's a host of those. I don't think I see any other title matches here, but honestly, for San Diego, I wouldn't be surprised if we have like 3 or 4 title matches on this card, given like the level of talent, it's local talent in this event. Definitely watch Fight to Win 126 in San Diego. It's California time, so it's always going to kill me to watch live, but I usually do anyway. So it's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely tune in. Want to move right into the preview, the UWW. So the UWW, which is like it's the World Championships of grappling, but it's like
it's in Kazakhstan, I guess.
It's like a grappling like hybrid thing with like modified rules, and like we watch it every year. We kind of cover it every year, but it's always to this day. Actually, I wish Josh was here because Josh can kind of explain what this is better. But it's like a separate. I think it's FILA's grappling championships, and it has like a gi thing and a no-gi component for men's and women's. It's got like different weight classes. It's sort of almost like what you think Olympic style grappling would look like.
Right.
Is my guess. So on day one, it's the elimination round for the women and for the men. Women's 53 kilogram, 58 kilogram, 64 kilogram, 71, and then above 71 kilograms. And then the men's under 62, under 66, under 71, under 77, under 84, under 92, under 100, and over 100. And then day two, you have the elimination for the gi, and then you have the finals for the gi for the men and the women, and then you have the finals. And that's how the thing runs. We'll probably end up covering the finals, but given next week is the week for ADCC, I'm not sure how it's going to be laid out and how we're going to cover it.
Yeah.
So that does it for this week.
Yes, a whole lot.
Dude, it's going to be... All right, so are you packed for ADCC yet? You got a packing list?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I'm one of those. I like to fly by the seat of my pants. But actually we should sit down and do that because I might have to take some shit for you.
Word, Emil, which is why I'm asking the question now, because I started packing. I was like, I have a lot of camera equipment that I have to bring.
Yeah, I can easily get a check on or some shit.
Yeah.
And boom.
So I carry on. I have like laptops. I have mics. You brought your audio interface this week.
Yeah.
So we were going from the old school 2 channel. So hopefully I can network our 2 audio interfaces together. We can get like 4 mics so we can do some interviews out there that are actually like mic'd, like podcast interviews.
Yeah.
I am looking at, I might have to check a bag. And I do not want to check a bag with any sort of equipment that we use for the show in it.
That's true.
So I'm probably going to carry on the bag with all the equipment I need for the backstage interviewing stuff for ADCC. And then I'm probably going to put some of the podcast in there. And then what I'm going to do is most likely going to put all of my clothes and everything else in another bag that can totally get lost and be annoying, but will be fine if it does get lost.
Exactly.
So what's your week look like? This is your last standard week before... When are you flying out for ADCC?
Thursday.
You fly out Thursday. Okay. I fly out Wednesday. I think Rachel flies out Friday. So we're going to do a meetup on Friday. Friday for lunch probably at noon. I'm not sure when weigh-ins are for ADCC and when the bracket's released. Right. Mo has been... It's hilarious. On Instagram, he posted basically that, look, I'm done making brackets with all of these, dropouts right now because I've had so many, great brackets, crumble. So he has to remake them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't remember another year being kind of this dropout heavy.
I don't know either, but I've never really followed ADCC this closely, in the lead up to the event.
Right.
And so it's I think maybe we've definitely had changes before, but I feel like because I've literally followed this one since the last ADCC and listened to every single name and watched every single trials match and watched every single guy that's going to be in all of their matches. I think now I'm noticing it a lot more. Dorino pulled out. Oh, actually, speaking of ADCC dropouts, Shoeface just dropped out. We paused the recording in the middle of it between segments, and I learned that he's dropped out, so he will be replaced. So hopefully this week we're done with dropouts.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, we're done.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you got to train hard for this shit, but, please, everyone, train safe. We want to see
taper. You're a week out. You're 10 days out. Taper down.
Yeah.
Taper down. You're chilling.
Settle the fuck
your rounds
down.
are done. Do your cardio. Be on your Aerodyne. Stop heel hooking.
Yeah.
You're good. You good as heel hooky as you're going to be leading up. Stop doing takedowns. You're drilled. You're ready. Just focus on making weight and, relaxing.
Yeah.
So it'll be great. Anything else going on this week?
That's it.
I got nothing else going on this week. I got to realize how many stickers I'm going to pack. I'm how many stickers am I bringing to ADCC? If you want a sticker at ADCC, let me know. I'll give you some. So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine.
With Emil, the co-host.
And as always, we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google Plus.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.